Well, hello, welcome back, my Royal Rogues. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue. And sadly, the first thing on today's show is the news that British actor Bernard Hill has passed away. Known for his iconic roles in Titanic, The Lord of the Rings, and Boys from the Black Stuff, he has passed away at the age of 79. From his breakout role as Joshua Hughes to his portrayal of King Theoden, he leaves behind a legacy of unforgettable characters that will continue to inspire and move audiences for generations to come. He will be deeply missed. And speaking of English legends of entertainment, John Cleese just said the quiet part out loud. Literal-minded people have ruined comedy because they don't understand irony. That's true and too bad at the same time, because we need to laugh more. But nowadays, everyone seems to be upset or offended by everything, especially the Sausage Squad, who I'm sure cannot grasp the difference between irony and ironing. And as Jenny says, I think you have solved something. Is that why Harry and Meghan don't use irons? An advisor to Harry, irony is out because it's a component of free speech and we are against free speech. And Harry to Meghan, my precious, we mustn't do any ironing. Well, that would make sense in so many ways. But what doesn't make sense is the stuff some accounts put out there as conspiracies, like this one. Kate Middleton wore a dress identical to one in the horror film Rosemary's Baby to present the birth of her second son to the world. In the film, Rosemary is impregnated by a satanic cult leader and gives birth to the Antichrist. Now, you know that I'm an amateur film buff, and I couldn't help but set the record straight about this, starting from the fact that Mia Farrow wears that dress just 5 minutes on a movie that is more than 2 hours long. So you can imagine that she wears many other dresses along the movie, which, by the way, it's not like The Devil Wears Prada, in which the dresses are part of the plot. This is not Rosemary's Baby's case, and to make matters more silly, it is not the same dress. The embroidery is different, so yes, I am that kind of guy. That must be the reason I don't get invited to many parties. Just like Meghan, since we just found out that Gwyneth Paltrow's intimate goop dinner was held at her Montecito home. Meghan Markle was not invited, but her friend Abigail Spencer attended. Meghan laughed in Hollywood and is avoided by the Montecito elite. Not surprising. And King Charles was presented with a record of his coronation that's so long it could probably circle the earth twice. This 21-meter-long masterpiece, known as the Coronation Roll, is a hand-stitched manuscript that has been a tradition for monarchs for at least 700 years. And guess what? There's only one tiny error in the entire thing, a missing dot over an I, and talk about attention to detail. And the calligrapher Stephanie von Werthern-Gill must have the patience of a saint because she wrote the more than 11,000 words in a mere 56 days without any weekends off. That's some serious dedication. And let's not forget the artist Tim Noord, who created the intricate illustrations. He's also the designer of the King's Cipher, so you will be seeing his work everywhere soon. And for the first time, the roll will be digitized so everyone can enjoy it. The King and the Queen even watch a video of their own coronation, like the fanciest episode of Gogglebox ever. We are talking about a 21-meter-long piece of history, which is the second longest royal document ever recorded. The first one being, of course, the list of Meghan's demands as a working royal, which was a whopping 69 meters long. But when I first read about the coronation roll, I couldn't help but think about a coronation cinnamon roll. You know that my mind works in mysterious ways, right? And Sharon K. Gilbert gave me this idea. Brilliant! Now we need a book on the adventures of the royal roll. And that's a great idea. Maybe the first book could be something like The Coronation Cinnamon Roll Against the Nefarious Nutmeg. That's it. We just need to call Peter Jackson for the movie. And the ever-charming Kate Beckinsale has a thing or two to say about King Charles and his recent cancer diagnosis. At the King's Trust Gala in the Big Apple, Kate couldn't help but gush about how impressed she is with the King's openness about his health struggles. And Kate herself has been dealing with some pretty heavy stuff lately. Her mom's battling cancer, her stepdad sadly lost his fight with the disease, and even her beloved cat has been giving her grief. It's like the universe decided to throw every possible curveball her way, and friendly reminder that we should count our blessings daily. And after an extended hospital stay herself, she started her stuff at the gala looking as fabulous as ever. She even managed to crack a joke about how everyone's had a rough year because, well, sometimes you just gotta laugh through all of it. So here's to Kate Beckinsale for being a total badass, to King Charles for keeping it real, and to everyone out there fighting the good fight against cancer. So let's hope next year's gala is all about celebrating remissions and good health. And also the King got a royal bear hug from his niece Zara Tyndall at the Royal Windsor Horse Show, and it was a sight to behold. The usually stoic monarch couldn't help but crack a smile as Zara wrapped her arms around him, proving that even kings need a little love sometimes. And despite the dreary weather, with rain pouring down and umbrellas out in full force, Charles seemed to be in high spirits. He chatted with officials, agreeing from ear to ear, and didn't let a little drizzle dampen his mood. It's clear that the king is making a splashing recovery from his recent cancer treatment. And other members of the royal family also made appearances at the event, including Prince Edward and his wife Sophie, and Prince Anne with her husband, Vice Admiral Sir Timothy Lawrence. And Lady Louise Windsor, the 20-year-old royal fashionista, also made a grand entrance at the Royal Windsor Horse Show, rolling up in a swanky horse and carriage like a boss. Louise, the 16th in line to the throne, but who's counting, donned a beige hat and tweed jacket grinning from ear to ear as she showed off her love for all things equestrian. A student at St. Andrews, where Kate and Wills fell in love, took a break from hitting the books to work as an official at the show, zooming around on an e-bike like a pro. It's no surprise that she's a natural, considering her close bond with the late Prince Philip, who introduced her to carriage driving. And as the young royal continues to shine, it's clear that she's got a bright future ahead of her in the royal family. And in rogue news from the past, King Charles, no, not this King Charles, this King Charles, King Charles I, he was the monarch who thought that he could have his cake and eat it too. On that fateful day of May the 5th in 1646, Charlie Boy found himself in quite a pickle. After years of playing a game of Who's the Boss with Parliament, the king finally realized that he was on the losing team. And in a move that can only be described as a royal oopsie, Charles I decided to surrender to the Scottish army. Little did he know, this would be the beginning of a downward spiral that would make even the most dramatic soap opera seem tame. The Scottish army, being the gracious hosts they were, decided to hand the king over to the English Parliament. It was like a bizarre game of hot potato, except instead of a potato, it was a monarch with a penchant for questionable decision-making. The Parliament, not one to be outdone in the drama department, decided to put the king on trial. It was the 17th century equivalent of Depp versus Heard, complete with plenty of finger-pointing and melodramatic speeches. In the end, Charles I was found guilty of being a tyrant, traitor, murderer, and public enemy. Well, if this had happened today, he could be considered to run for office, but being the 17th century, they might not have had antibiotics, but at least they did the reasonable thing. The king was promptly executed, proving once and for all that you should never bring a crown to a sword fight. And so, the English Civil War came to a close with Parliament emerging victorious, and the monarchy taking a much-needed time out. It just goes to show that even kings can have a bad day at the office. But Rogues, I would love to know what do you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue, and remember, much love and bliss.